Hi guys, welcome back to the studio. Today, real quick, I just want to explain this beast I've got sitting right in front of me. I tend to get the same question when people walk into the mixing room. They're like, "Whoa, look at all these buttons! You know how to use them all?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of know. It's what I do." I just want to explain the board real quick. I can understand how it can be confusing to someone who's never been in front of one or doesn't really know what it does. The board is basically, it's got two purposes: to record, what you've got in the live room, your band, your musicians, what have you, and also to mix afterward. So whatever sound source you have coming from your tape or in these days, the hard drive, and you send those signals to these channels. The first thing to understand about this board is that it's not all buttons to one. It's actually divided into channels. This board specifically has 40, so from 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way up to 40, plus buses, which I won't explain at this moment. But basically just understanding, I'm going to explain a bit what these buttons do and some of their purpose. Well, I'll do my best. So if you want to come here, the first basic function on the top of the board is your microphone input. So you can either choose a microphone input or a line input if you're recording, for example, like keyboards, which you wouldn't put a mic to, you would just plug it in. So you would switch the resistance and then this kind of signal coming to the board, or the volume of the microphone if you have a microphone for a singer, for example. So that's this section right here with a few other buttons with, either flipping the phase or changing your exchanging your filter settings, and that's it. So that's the first section. This section underneath here is basically an EQ section. You've got your highs, your mids, your lows. If you want to tweak something either before the recording or even after in the mixing process, if you want to go in and clean a snare sound or a drum sound, and then there's a button underneath actually if you want to actually use it on the channel or not. Pretty simple. The 4 channels, the 4 buttons underneath here, this is actually the auxiliary section. The auxiliary section is to basically, if you want to send this channel, whatever information is on this channel, to an effect or out, or have an effect and then put that effect on the channel. So an auxiliary out and an auxiliary in just basically is bouncing channels back and forth to effects like reverb or delays, or if you want to plug in a compressor or a limiter, you can have that on the channel by sending it out, getting it affected, and then sending it back. That's basic. Underneath that, we have our pan button. This button is basically just telling the channel, do I want you all the way to the left, or do I want you all the way to the right? Fooling around with the stereo imaging of whatever it is that you're recording. Under that, again, some basic buttons. The mute button, if in your mix you don't want to hear the channel for whatever reason, and then the solo button if you actually just want to hear that channel. A very useful tool when mixing, to go in and maybe either fix a problem, or if there's something that's a little off and you just want to be like, oh, what's that? Boom, solo, or no, I don't want to hear it anymore. Mute. Very good for vocalists when you don't want to hear them. Just kidding. Under that, the most popular fader, and this is pretty straightforward. It's just controlling the volume, all infinity all the way to this board has 10. That's the increments, but just the levels, how loud you want to hear it in the mix and how loud you're sending it to the master. And that's about it. There's nothing really to it. You have to understand that each of these, this is not one whole board by itself. Actually, these channels actually pop up, and they're all, you got a motherboard underneath there with some resistors and what have you. So it's very easy to, if ever you pop the board, if you're constantly using, like channel 1 would be mostly for drums and whatnot, or if you'd had a channel that you're always using guitars, eventually things break down, so you'd want to like pop this piece comes off, you could fix it and then put it back, so you're always working. That's how these boards tend to be built. Nowadays, everything is done in the computer. You'd have a simulation of this and the computer kind of fixes everything and patches everything for you. But in most major studios, that you will always have these boards, because they're just very, very good to work with. They sound great, and they just bring a certain sense of live and organic feel to whatever it is you're recording. I'm not saying you can't record and make great mixes without a board. I'm just saying that this is how they were doing it back in the day, and this is how they're still doing it now. And all the master mixes always go through a board, no matter what. And that's it. I just wanted to explain that a little bit just because I get a lot of questions when people walk in, and I just wanted to throw that out there. I hope that was a decent explanation. I'm sure there's probably more questions than answers, but I just wanted to kind of demystify the knobs and everything on this board. It looks kind of complicated, but it's not really that complicated. And on the weekends when I'm not recording, this board actually secondaries to actually land 747s. You can land huge jumbo jets with this board. It's amazing. Got the microphone, talk to the pilots, everything's great. I'm just kidding. All right, guys. Thanks for popping in, and hopefully this was an okay explanation. Thanks.